let's talk about the HIV, what Trump has done with the HIV testing now. And let me pull up the article that I really, really want to get to. Trump pauses disbursement to programs supplying HIV treatment worldwide. The Trump administration has halted disbursement of funds from a program that supplies most of treatment for HIV in Africa and developing countries worldwide for at least 90 days. The action stems from President Trump's executive order on foreign aid, which directs all government divisions with foreign development assistance programs to stop dispersing funds to countries and organizations until they can be reviewed. That includes the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, known as PEPFAR, a $7.5 billion program overseen by the State Department officials, were told in a memo Wednesday obtained by the New York Times. In a separate directive on Friday, also viewed by the Times, officials were informed that although the initial review of foreign aid is intended to be completed within 85 days, final decisions might take up to 180 days. All right, let's pause for a minute. Let's talk about why COVID-19 was as bad as it was. Leadership. I repeat, leadership. The government knew about COVID-19 months before we knew about it. We knew that there was a disease going around, an airborne disease going around for some time. But we figured, not we, the Trump administration figured if they are quiet about it, it'll just go away. Again, this is what happens when you have a government or the leadership in government who is not only not science-based, but is not, I don't want to say smart enough, but simply refuses to accept science. Now, when COVID came about, there are a lot of things that good leadership could have done to prevent the millions of people who died. A lot of things that they could have done. We knew that the genesis of this pandemic, it wasn't a pandemic then, we knew the genesis of these infections were coming in from China, coming in from that area of the world. We had the opportunity here to start taking preventative measures. And, many people attempted and tried to do these preventative measures, wear masks, do all kinds of things that other countries did to mitigate the spread of this disease. But America, the richest countries, purportedly the smartest country, purportedly the most advanced countries, we had internal fights. Science versus stupidity. Science versus ignorance. And ignorance won for a very long time. And now we have a new Trump administration, and we have two things. Just a week into the administration, and he has done two things that puts our health and could potentially create another crisis. One, communication at the national NIH is forbidden. They cannot have interdepartmental communications or communications with the outside world about what's going on. And we know we're having a very serious infection with birds right now. Very serious infection with birds that have jumped to many different animals, squirrels, cows, birds, chickens, ducks, and 80-something Americans have already died of being infected from animal to human transition. Now they're talking about, we don't know if it transmits between humans and humans yet. But our departments are right now on hiatus. They can't communicate among each other. Why not? Edict from the Fuhrer. Edict from Donald Trump. Nothing based on science. But his departments with knowledge cannot speak. Chaos in these departments. Now, HIV. These programs that are preventative around the world, America is saying, we want the rest of the world uninfected, not infected or unable to spread the disease. So what do we want to do? Whether you're a poor country or not, we want to make sure that we can fight HIV wherever HIV is. You know why? Americans travel all over the world. And you know, Americans have a whole lot of fun all over the world. And so we want all over the world to be safe because Americans as well. We should, from a moral and a humanity standpoint, we should want the entire world to be safe. But if you want to look at it from a perspective of selfishness, self-saving, we want to make sure that where Americans go, they're safe. But no, Trump says, we're thinking about cutting all these programs, including some of the programs where we help people not get HIV or help people control HIV. Folks, this is what we elected. It's not like we haven't seen this game before. Donald Trump caused an excess of over 400,000 Americans to die because of his incompetence. We have a derelict media that because they hadn't informed Americans of how derelict their president was, who continued to make Americans die, Americans quite didn't realize how much fault should have gone to the president for the killing that occurred in America. We had silly fights about whether masks work or not. We had adjacent counties in Kansas that were test cases, where we had a county that it put mask requirements on, and we had counties that had laissez-faire. You could do as you please. And the death rates in the laissez-faire counties were through the roof, and the death rates in the counties where masks were required actually had decline in infections. Not only that, we knew that the people that listened to the right-wing stations died at a much higher rate than the people who didn't. The people who took precautions lived, the people who didn't died. These are statements of facts that our derelict media should have been out there making sure people know that this wasn't conjecture, this was fact. Look at your dead neighbors. And we are about, or we are running the risk of living through this one more time.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.